Hey, if you are watching this, more than likely I handed you a DIY program, a do-it-yourself program. And on that do-it-yourself program is just a blank canvas that just looks like an empty Excel sheet. And so if I handed that to you and then I sent you a link to this video, I want you to watch this video and it'll give you a pretty good idea of how to fill out your DIY program. And so here's the fundamentals that I want to show you and teach you basically. So it comes down, the biggest thing in this game is it comes down to compliance and consistency. So that means you're going to pick the exercises that work well for you, and then you're going to do them consistently over a long period of time. The reason being is if you randomly do sporadically different exercises all the time, you never get good enough at any one exercise for that exercise to benefit you enough. Now, if you don't believe me, if you take a 200-pound construction worker off the street and then you take him and put him on the bench press, he might only be able to bench press, I don't know, for example, 100 pounds. But 8 weeks later, that same construction worker might be bench pressing 300 pounds. Now, did our 200-pound man that went from a 100-pound bench press to a 300-pound bench press in 8 weeks, did he get 200 pounds stronger on the bench press? No, absolutely not. He did not. Absolutely no. Like, he did not get 200 pounds stronger, but he got a little bit stronger and he got 200 pounds better at the movement. And that's why it comes down to compliance and it comes down to consistency. So that's why whenever you guys write your own program right now, you're going to pick exercises and you're going to stick with them for the next 4 weeks so that you get good enough at the exercises. Okay, so here's kind of the fundamentals here. Let's bring in the camera real quick. Okay, for your program, here's how basically almost every program is set up. At the top of your pyramid here, we are going to have intensity. I didn't spell that right. It's hard to talk to the camera and spell stuff right. All right, at the top of the pyramid is intensity. At the bottom of it is volume. So however you guys decide to set up your program, at the bottom you're going to have the most reps or the most volume, and then towards the top we're going to have less volume, but higher intensity. In other words, volume is the cumulative number of reps that you do, and intensity is how heavy it is. Okay, so whenever you guys are writing your program, just realize at the beginning of your program, we want to do more volume, and at the end of the program, we want to have more weight. And basically, we're doing that so that you get better at the movement, so you put on muscle, and then towards the end of it, we're building more strength. Okay, cool. Volume comes first, and then intensity comes second. Now, other fundamental rules of the way you're going to set up your program. Another fundamental here is going to be that you're not going to do 1,000 different exercises. You're going to pick 3, maybe 4 exercises, but it's going to be based on the fundamental principles that your body does 4 things. Here are the 4 things that your body does. 1, your body does a push movement. This could be an overhead press, so OHP, a bench press, or maybe a dumbbell bench press. The second human movement that your body does is a pull. So this could be a lat pull down, or a dumbbell row, or whatever else, or like a seated chest supported row or something like that. Principle number 3 here. Okay, we push, we pull. The second thing your body does is a hinge. So that could look like a deadlift. It could be a Romanian deadlift. It could be a good morning. Now the 4th human movement is the squat or lunge. Now, if you really want to get technical here, we could throw in the lunge also, but to keep it simple, we're going to say that there are 4. So we push, we pull, we hinge, and we also squat. So with the squat, that could be a back squat. It could be a front squat. It could be a goblet squat. If your back is messed up, it could be a leg press. It could be any of those things. So what you're going to do for your program is if you're running it total body. If we're running a total body program, that means for each of your workouts, right? Let's say we run a 3-day-a-week program. For each of your workouts, we're going to pick all 4 of these exercises, and that'll be basically your day. So maybe we'll start, I typically start with lower body stuff because it's more demanding and it places more load on the central nervous system and it's just harder to get through. So it's really better to do your hardest, heaviest stuff up at the beginning and your lighter, easier stuff at the end. And that works for a couple of principles. I don't know, for a couple of reasons, okay? I don't know if you've ever seen The Office before, but remember whenever, what's his name? Dwight Schrute was filling, or the main character was filling Dwight's phone with quarters, and then he goes to pick it up, and then all of a sudden takes all the quarters out, and then hits himself in the face with the phone. And that's because he went from picking up a heavy object to then a very light object. So, as a rule of thumb, once you guys go to pick up something very, very heavy and you back down to pick up something lighter, the lighter thing feels exponentially lighter. Like it doesn't feel like anything. So that's why if you guys first go in and let's say you do your squat or your hinge first, and then you do your pull and your push second, the pull and the push movements aren't so bad. So for example, let's say that we have you guys deadlift first. And so here's how I would run it if I were you and I were going to run a 3-day-a-week total body program. I would pick either a hinge or a squat for your lower body movement because they're so demanding. So I would pick, let's say that we would deadlift, and then we would do a lat pull down, and then let's say we did a bench press. Okay, so that's total body. We just now hit everything in the whole body. I would start with your hinge, so I'd start with the deadlift, and what that might look like, we might hit a 5x5 on the deadlift, so we might go 5x5, then we might do a 5x10 on the lat pull down, and then a 5x10 on the bench press. That's all that you need. All that we did was 3 exercises. That covers every single movement that the human body does. You push, you pull, you squat, you hinge, that's it. There's nothing else that the body does. Even though you'll walk into your commercial gym, wherever that is, probably Lift 24 if you're watching this video, you'll walk in there, you'll see 1,000 different pieces of equipment, and that's awesome and fun, but that's really for people that don't know how to lift weights, okay? If you see all those pieces of equipment and get overwhelmed, just know that it doesn't really mean all that much because the human body only really does 4 things. You push, you pull, you squat, you hinge. You don't need to do the tricep extension machine and then do the tricep pull down ropes and then do 8 different tricep exercises. It all does the same thing, okay? Anyway, so we'll pick a squat or a hinge, a pull, and then a push. After you guys have that set up, so what we've been through, let's just recap real quick. Okay, body does 4 things. Here are the 4 things that the body does. You push, you pull, you hinge, you squat, and then remember the way that we set up our intensity. Okay, at the top is going to be the most intensity or the most load. So we have load at the top. And then at the bottom of our pyramid, this is the big wide base of our pyramid, we have volume, okay? So this is volume, and so intensity is load, volume is reps. We're gonna do more reps at the bottom. So for example, we'll start hitting sets of 10, and this is how your weeks progress basically. So think of the bottom, think of the bottom of your pyramid basically as like week 1. Okay, week 1 we're hitting sets of 10, and then week 2 maybe we're hitting sets of 5, and then by the time we're at week 3 maybe we're hitting triples or something like that. That's a very fast progression of the reps, but you guys understand what I'm saying. We start with a lot of volume and we end with a lot of intensity. That's basically how you're going to set up your program. Now, if you're watching this video, more than likely I handed you a program, and so here are all of my DIY programs, and so here's how you'll fill it out. You'll put your exercises under the day, and then you'll fill it out here to where, for example, okay, let's say that your first exercise is the deadlift. So we'll go DL. And then for each of those, if you have 5 sets of 5, cool. That's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That's 5 sets of 5 on your deadlift sheet there, basically. So there's the exercise. There's your 5 sets of 5. You're going to fill in your weight right there, okay? If you guys don't want to use my printout sheet, you don't have to. As long as you guys understand these fundamentals, you can write your own program, and it's really not all that hard. But remember, we're going to pick exercises that we like, large compound exercises that feel good on your body. If you have a messed up knee, it might be a little bit better for you to deadlift. If you have a messed up back, it might be better for you to squat. And so here's the deal with and I understand we do 4 things, okay? The human body does 4 things. You don't necessarily have to do all 4 of those things. If you're getting in 1 squat and you're getting in 1 deadlift, you'll be fine, okay? Now, let's talk about how you're going to set up the week to week. Okay, we understand how we do exercise selection, and now we understand how we set up the volume going into the intensity. So now, how do we set up the week to week to week? Let's take a look at that. Let's say that you decide to train 3 days a week, which I think is actually fantastic. Okay, let's say that you're going to be one of those guys that you train Monday, Wednesday, Friday, you take the weekends off. Maybe you do something athletic, you do a little bit of cardio on the weekends. Cool. Okay, so let's say you're Monday, Wednesday, Friday. Okay, so we know the body does 4 things. We're going to want to cover all 4 things throughout the week. Now, if we're going to do total body, here's what we're going to do. So let's say Monday we will deadlift, and then we'll bench press, and then we'll lat pull down. Wednesday, we want slightly different exercises, but we're still kind of covering the same bases. So we deadlifted Monday. Wednesday, let's do another squatting exercise. So we'll do the front squat. So we'll go front squat, and then we'll do dumbbell bench press for a different variation. Why do we change that up a little bit? Because it takes a little bit of stress off the joint. If you're someone new to lifting, I 10 out of 10 recommend you just do the same exact exercises all week long until you get good enough at those exercises. But if you're somebody that's more experienced lifting weights, more of the game transitions from you having to push yourself on these exercises to it becoming injury prevention and stress management. And so the better that you get, the more you have to watch out for injury. If you're somebody that's new to lifting weights, you've never touched a weight before in your life, you're probably not going to get hurt. You're probably not lifting heavy enough for you to cause any serious damage because you're not very good at the movement. You don't know what you're doing. So it would be fine for you to just deadlift, bench press, and lat pull down 3 days a week until you were really good at those exercises. That would be fine for you. But let's say you're a little bit more experienced and you want to switch up the exercises, okay? So instead of me, like for example, I'll just take myself, right? So instead of me bench pressing Monday and Wednesday, I might be bench pressing 400 pounds on Monday. I don't want to also take a barbell and bench press 400 pounds again on Wednesday. No, I'm going to switch up the exercise and I'll do a dumbbell bench press. So now it's a little bit less load. The dumbbell bench press is inherently a little bit lighter. I could maybe only get up to maybe like, 200 pound dumbbells, like something like 200 pounds, right? A little bit more stability going on there. So we'll go dumbbell bench press, front squat, dumbbell bench press, and now we need a pulling exercise. So let's say that I decide to go with the dumbbell row, right exercise, but it's just different than a lat pull down. It's just a different pulling exercise. It doesn't let's say that you were stuck on an island and you only got to do 3 exercises and you're like, I want to be jacked, only doing 3 exercises. Guess what? You could do it if you just deadlifted, you bench pressed, and you did body weight pull-ups. You would be super jacked and no one would be able to tell that you're not a bodybuilder and that you don't use all the cable machines and Cybex machines and all the garbage, okay? Just understand you only do 4 things and that's all that you have to really cover, okay? So, but for the sake of novelty and for the sake of keeping everybody happy and for the sake of getting to do fun stuff in the gym, we like to switch up the exercises and we like to take care of the joints because different exercises are going to put slightly different strain and demand on the joints. So front squat, dumbbell bench press, and now we'll go dumbbell row. And now for our Friday, so we've deadlifted, we've squatted, we could do another hinge. Or we could do another squat, it doesn't matter. Let's say that we do another hinge here. So we'll go RDL. So a Romanian deadlift or a stiff-legged deadlift, we'll go RDL. We'll go with an incline bench press for a little bit different stress. And then for my row, we'll go bent over row. So, okay, we'll go bent over row with a barbell, right? Still, we're squatting, okay, or we're hinging. We are pressing and we are pulling. Okay, for example, for your reps and sets here, we might start with 5x5, and then for your bench press, I like for the upper body stuff to have a little bit more volume, but it doesn't have to. You can keep the volume low. Let's just say we do a 5x5 all over the place. Everything here is going to be 5 sets of 5, 5 sets of 5, 5 sets of 5, 5 sets of 5. Okay. At the end of the day, for your Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, we did 15 sets, okay? 15, 15, 15. Cool, you did 15 sets Monday, 15 sets Wednesday, 15 sets Friday. This should not take you more than like an hour. You should be in and out of the gym in about an hour. Now, as far as your rest times go, I like to keep the rest times anywhere between 1 minute to 2 minutes tops. I'm fine with you talking to Bill, George, Bob, Sally, whoever else is in the gym that you want to chit chat with. But as long as you are staying on a clock and you're staying focused. Too many times people will go into the gym, they work out, they whatever, right? And they're like not seeing any progress. And they're like, oh, I work out for 6 hours a day. Yeah, not really. You're in the gym for 6 hours a day. It's not about how much time you spend working out. It's about how much working out you do in your time. So keep on a clock. I wouldn't rest any longer than 2 minutes between sets. If you have to do 15 sets on Monday, okay, that's 2 minutes of rest between each set. So just in rest time. 15 times 2, that's about 30 minutes just in rest time. The other 30 minutes that you're in there should actually be time under tension, under the barbell, under the dumbbell, whatever. Okay, so now how do you set up your month? What does the month look like? So let's go week 1, week 2. Let's pull this in so you guys can see this a little bit better. Week 1, week 2, WK3, WK4. Okay. That's week 1, 2, 3, and finally 4. Okay, so just like our pyramid where I explained to you guys how we're going to start with a lot of volume, we're going to end with high intensity. Okay, remember our pyramid here, we got volume at the bottom, we got intensity at the top. So week 1, all of our exercises, here's how you're going to structure it. Week 1, we're going to do 4 sets of 10, 4 by 10. Week 2, we'll go into that. Maybe we'll do a little bit. That should be 10. Maybe we'll do a little bit more weight, a few less reps. So maybe we'll go 5 by 5 for week 2. And then maybe we'll do a 5 by 4 week 3. And then into week 4, we might do 5 sets of 3. And so every week we're adding a little bit of weight as we go. Okay, here's the only other caveat to this. There is another way, okay, to add volume, right? That's total. We'll call that like total like muscle damage, basically. It's not a lot of weight, but it's a lot of reps. There's another way to add volume other than doing more reps. It's called time under tension. So your time under tension can change what we're doing reps and sets wise, okay? So let's say with our little pyramid here, how anyways, week 1, we start with a lot of volume. And by the end of it, we are at a lot of intensity. Okay, so at the bottom here, let's say that we start with, 4 sets of 10. Cool, that's a lot of volume. 10 reps is a lot. Okay, that's a lot of repetitions. But we can get around this. Let's say that you want to get really good at the movement. Let's say that you're front squatting, okay? You want to control that eccentric. Let's say instead of doing more reps, we just do eccentric work where we're controlling it on the way down. So now our total time under tension or time underneath that barbell goes up. So instead of doing 4 sets of 10, we could do 4 sets of 3, but do it all eccentrically. Okay, that E stands for eccentric down there, okay? So let's say we do 6 seconds on the eccentric or the lowering portion of the movement. The total set is going to take the same amount of time, but since we're going nice and slow on the way down, giving it like 6 to 10 seconds on the way down on all of your eccentric work, it evens out to being like the same amount of volume. Our set of 3 is really the same amount of volume as a set of 10. So then then going into week 2, maybe you'll do the same thing again here, times 3 eccentrically, but then by the time you get to your last week, 4 by 3, we don't do the eccentric, and now we're just going to add more weight to the barbell, but we'll go down fast, up fast, down fast, up fast. And so by the time we get to week 3, we're still using more weight. So like, let's say week 1, we're using 135 on front squat. Week 2, we bump up the weight a little bit, we're using 145, but now we drop the eccentric component completely. Going into week 3, now we can go, 175, because now we drop the eccentric component and we're just doing full speed reps. So just remember that your time under tension is really what counts, and it's really not the total number of reps. So, but still, for volume, for the sake of volume, you can increase volume by just doing more time under tension or controlling that eccentric component a little bit better. So let's just recap real quick. Biggest fundamentals that I want you guys to take with you here is going to be, let's write it out for you. Okay, body does 4 things, okay? 1, you squat. 2, you hinge. 3, you push. 4, you pull. That's all you got to do. You got to hit those. And remember, as you set up your 4-week or 8-week long program, however long you guys want to run it, remember at the bottom of our pyramid is the volume, and then at the top is intensity. That's all I want you guys to remember, and you guys will do great. The other thing that I have to reiterate with you guys is you don't need 1,000 different exercises. You just need a few that cover these 4 bases. Got it? All right, you guys have a great rest of your Saturday, and I will see you later.